quite handy with this.
Okay, welcome to another of our Time Travelers Chronicles. My name's Monica Cornetti, and I'm the Chief Engagement Officer at Sententia Gamification. And with me is a very special guest, dear to my heart in so many ways, because we didn't really know each other. And so Michiel really took a gamble. Like he put his toes out over the ledge and stepped off fully to help us to launch as we were launching our Sententia GamiCon. And Michiel graciously came to our very first live event in Chicago in the middle of the Chicago Marathon. I mean, it was if I pull back the curtain fully, like the Airbnb we had reserved was actually a scam and they canceled us. And so I put them in like a basement of this house that was horrendous. Oh my gosh. And we just had to keep moving forward, right? We couldn't stop, just keep moving. So welcome with me, Michiel Van Eunen. He's based in the Netherlands and he has done such tremendous work in gamification since the very beginning. And it's from this unique, like different niche that everyone is wild about. And at that first GamiCon in Chicago, he did a pop-up escape room for us in a room that was too hot and too small with beer though. There was beer it was at a brewery. And
That's
the
right.
great and so thank you so much for taking the risk with me way back then and for still being friends with me even after all of that just fiat, but it was great. It was such a great and Mikhail,
And that's what we're talking
yeah,
about today, right? The
yeah,
early days,
the
the
early days.
pioneering, and of course it's not all rainbows and unicorns when you start. You have to start somewhere.
Otherwise, you don't
I did, you
start.
did, yeah.
Yeah, you don't start if you don't start somewhere, right? And
Right.
we literally were just like, well, Mikhail, I know you went over there early to set up that escape room, and you took time to really make this transform this event space into this adventure. That what I love most about all of that, as great that night was so great. People wouldn't leave. They were crammed in there. No one was complaining or having a bad time though. Everyone was having a great time. And probably and most importantly is they took what you did and realized I can create something like this back at my workplace. And they took your ideas and ran with them. We've got great stories of and examples of people who took your idea and said, well, let me see what I can do with this. So
Awesome.
tell me
Awesome.
about how you got started. It's particularly like why pop-up escape rooms? Why did you start there? Or maybe you didn't
First,
start there. Yeah,
well,
maybe I'm
I didn't
assuming
start
something.
there.
Yeah.
We can talk about escape rooms because it's not for real. I think by now I designed like 30 different escape room formats worldwide, either pop-up escape rooms or static escape rooms that are worked on every day from day to day. Why escape room? Well, for a number of reasons. One, they're great fun. And they are very specifically bound in location and time, and they make for great observation of people. So if you put any amount of people in a well-designed game with it time limits, with pressure, then well, lovely things happen in their behavior, and within no time you can observe their natural behavior, and with that patterns that emerge within teams or even within organizations or companies. And afterwards you can reflect on that and reflect on what just happened within the escape room and tie that to the real world, because I'll tell you this, the behavior within the game is exactly the same behavior as in real life.
Yeah. And it's fun how you see those come out, like just those little quirks that like you wouldn't necessarily expect from like somebody who's totally buttoned up and form, but then you see them willing to negotiate or even, I don't want to use the word manipulate, but find ways to
Why
get
not?
information. Yeah,
Why
yeah.
not?
Find ways to how can I help my team to win, right? That little bit of edginess that comes out. Yeah, that's really good.
Well, people can surprise either themselves or you can be surprised by others that if you always see, let's say, your partner or your boss or your colleague or your coworker within their work, within their frame, what they do and what they're assigned to do, maybe then you only use 10 or 20% of their capacity. And if you watch them, for example, in an escape room, but playing, then you can see that, for instance, they are natural born leaders or have great analytical skills or are the people that connect the dots. And just putting people in another context under pressure and making them do stuff, meanwhile enjoying themselves without them having to notice that they're being watched. They're just so into the game. It can be a very enriching experience.
Yeah. Now, and I should first off, my apologies if you're watching this and you're thinking, I really don't even know the concept of Monica saying pop-up escape room because Mikkel, I didn't know what you meant when you said I'm going to do a pop-up escape room. I was like, okay, what is that? So like, so my is that you can take any space and you can create an adventure within that space, and
Yes.
you hide unique clues or puzzles or hints along the way that people have to discover and put together. But now you've also did a beautiful, masterful digital. It wasn't an escape room as much as an adventure for, didn't you do that for like a local museum or uh what was that?
So yeah. Yeah, well, I do different sort of escape rooms or
Yeah.
adventures. You want me to explain a bit about the pop-up for versus
Yeah, do that. But I
right?
also want to know that you can do this in a digital format too. So I don't want to miss that because we can think through that design. And then I also want to talk about stories, what you're doing
Yeah.
now. And what
Okay.
so
Three
let's
things.
do a
So
journey.
yeah,
Take
yeah.
me on a journey, Mikkel. All right.
Well, most of the time is that you're going to set up an adventure that's bound in time and space. So it can be a physical location or a fictional location. So if you have a static escape room that you're going to run commercially and it will have hundreds of visitors every week, then you have a very specific location, and then and you might have quite a big budget to completely theme that escape room to make, for instance, a pirate theme escape room or a steampunk escape room, whatever. You theme it, and you can go all out with the graphics and the themings and the staging and the technology. That creates high immersion and a lot of fun. So for commercial escape rooms, that's the way to go. But if you use escape rooms or games like that for learning, it could be that you're bound to a specific location, but only for a limited amount of time, maybe during an event or a training. And then you can still think about, if you know what location you're going to use, and it's a very specific location, you can use that very location to theme your escape room. So for instance, if we did an escape room in a beer brewery, could have very well made an escape room with that theme. And a few years ago, I actually did that during a European conference that was set in Brighton at a pier near the beach, and I set it in to be played at that pier like 100 years ago. So two things that you can never ignore when playing escape room is one, the players, who are they, and two, the location. So if I make an escape room, a pop-up escape room for a hotel, I make a backstory about a hotel and a hotel room. And meaning it's pop-up, it means you can place in any hotel room in the world. So what you do as a facilitator, you get in a hotel room, but any hotel room has a bed, has a shower. You sort of know what the location is. So you might have a box or luggage, and where there are a lot of materials, you have it like half an hour to prep, and you hide clues wherever in the hotel room. So that would be a pop-up escape room. You can set it up in half an hour, play the game, and afterwards get your stuff in and move to another location. And then you can have a pop-up escape room that's not even related to that location, and location is not that important. So then it's more about the theme within, and location is not relevant.
Right. All right, good. So good. I like that. And I'm thinking of the examples from people who were in Chicago who took that back and did it just in their workplace. Like an example, company that does HR backroom services, they created an onboarding program, not was part of their onboarding to help people get well, and hundreds of people have gone through that now. And because of COVID, she had to do a digital transformation of that from the concept of doing it live to taking it to a digital where people from where no matter where they were could get engaged with it. So tell me about your journey. You started, why did you get into the gamified, game-based arena?
Yeah, good question. Well, I
I
started
know. Why
out,
did
yeah.
why?
Well, first of all, I'm never too serious when it comes to my job.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make fun and have a pleasant life,
Yeah.
which worked for me so far. So I started out doing team building and team training for companies. And for that, I designed games and I just let people have fun for one afternoon. And so that's what I started 20 years ago. But at time after time, I saw that people would have an awesome experience for one afternoon, and I saw all kinds of stuff happening during that hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, and then they would get next day they would get back to work and not specifically learn. They would might have a great experience, which is fine, but we saw the potential of what it could be, and it was around the same time that like 2011 that gamification became sort of a thing. You got the great talk by Jay McGonigal, and we found out that what we were doing already had a big potential, and now we saw all the ingredients that were in games that had a huge could have a huge impact in the real world. So from that time on, we connected games and gaming and learning more to real life goals and having effect for a company or an organization. And meanwhile, we started to share our experience in this space. So we are definitely not from an academic background. Within gamification, you're also you have two camps. You have really the academics, yeah, working from an academical mind and working from the paperwork. We are Our starting position is the other side. We have been seen playing thousands of people in thousands of groups. We saw all kinds of dynamics emerge. We could address them, and we could connect what would happen within games, what would happen on the work floor, and learn from that and have a big impact.
Yeah. Good. Very good. Talk with me about what you're focused on now. And I saw an image last night, I guess, on it was saying the second floor of your offices were, yeah,
Hmm.
you were playing. Everybody was playing still. Yeah, there was something I couldn't see exactly what it was, but I saw a screen and I saw some play going on. So what are you working on now?
Yeah. Well, what you saw,
Yeah.
highly classified. No, that's That's actually for an escape room format that's digital. It's not specifically for learning, by the way, but it could be. So it's called the cube or the X cube. It's a physical space like 4 by 4 meters, and you can load an escape room into that space, and you could yeah, you could experience an escape room. So mostly digital, but it also has all kinds of sensors around it. So you can at one time load in an escape room that's maybe about zombies, or we made an escape room that was about a submarine that gets stuck far, far underwater, and you'll have to find your way back to the surface.
Wow.
Uh, so that's one. And meanwhile, another great project that we are working on is called Familia. Family, what does it sound to you,
Like
Familia?
family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Good, 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 good.
yeah.
And actually, that's sort of a rebrand of what it actually is, because it's a game that's based on what you can learn from the mafia. I have this,
Good. About
I have this,
leadership or life
huh?
or
I tell
Power
you,
or
last year I met someone who knew everything about the mafia, especially Italian mafia. He wrote a book about it, and we met each other on a gala for Management Book of the Year. He was nominated for Management Book of the Year. We were also nominated for Management Book of the Year. We won, by the way,
yay.
um, with a book about game-based learning, by the way. But we got to talk with each other. He'd say, okay, you're great at making games. I know a lot about the mafia, and it was my dream to make a game about what you can learn from the mafia. And we're not talking about the unethical parts, but the way that there is something to be learned about how mafia organizations are organized, how they communicate, how they execute, and that's fun. So can we make a game that's wildly fun to play, that's thrilling, and meanwhile gives you a chance to reflect back on behavior and patterns within your own team and your organization? And on a third level, see what we can learn and how we operate, and how there's also other ways to operate, and let's see what we can learn from that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I just think of all kinds of scenarios where, well, first off, strategy, but then also emotional intelligence, critical thinking, choices that we make, consequences of those choices.
Yeah.
Fun.
Especially decision making, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fun. Really fun.
it
If
is.
you
So it
were to go back in time when you
yeah.
decided to put this all together and you could give yourself some wisdom, some points of wisdom, what would be one thing you would tell yourself, your younger self?
I think it would be that to acknowledge that you're a pioneer. There are no this hasn't been done before, so stop comparing yourself or measuring on what you should be or try to fit in with old ways of learning. This is new stuff, and accept and fight for the fact that you're bringing something new to the table.
Yeah, that's really good, right? That need for us to validate what we knew was true, right? Like I love when I get into, I don't enjoy reading necessarily the books that are heavy on research, but I love when I read like there's one about adult learning and the adult learning brain, and it's just so heavy research based, and but as I'm reading their research, I'm like, well, yeah, we've been saying that. Well, yeah, this is what we've been doing. But it's just so great to see that validation of what, just from observing human behavior and what we know to be true, even though there may not be the empirical data that is people are looking for. And I'm not saying it's not relevant, because it is. People need to be able to justify expenditures. Is this going to work? But we lose sight of who and why we're doing it often.
What I find so interesting is that still in learning and adult learning and primary school education, in a lot of educational systems, we are still doing a lot of stuff that is not validated, and we are still in doing it. If you look around in any classroom nowadays or any corporate training, then you should ask yourself, is this what you're doing right now the best way to learn? Is that validated? So people tend to be not so critical about what they're already
Already
doing
doing, yeah.
because they have been doing that for a long time. So if there's a new alternative that is validated, that has tons of scientific validation, but it's new, like gamification or game-based learning, then people all of a sudden are critical.
Right. Well, because it's not how they learned, right? Well, I sat in a classroom with the inside. That's what I did. That's what my father did. That's what my grandfather did, right? I mean, that it's that, well, yeah, but that's not when actual learning ever happened. Like, I am appalled when I walk into a brand new, like a university building that's still set up with the instructor down in the middle and the tiers of chairs going up, because no learning is going to happen there. There might be some information that's transferred, but the learning's not going to happen until they get a chance to actually digest and engage with that content. And we all know it because we all spent hours outside of class trying to learn what it was that was being taught to us in the classroom, right? It was for every hour in class, we had to spend hours outside of class learning the information. So you're right. It's so interesting with that, Mikel. What do you feel is like what is something that's really, you felt like this is really great? Something with technology, or what's helped, you think, helped you, help the industry? Even like this, for us to have done this a few years ago, we would have been so glitchy. And Mikel, are you there? Mikel, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Mikel, turn your video off because I don't think it's working, right? It's even that has,
Technology does help,
yeah,
of course.
yeah,
And the great things about technology are, of course, short feedback loops and direct feedback and adaptability. So what
yeah,
a lot of games can do is quite swiftly adapt to your level to make you yeah, to let you be at the point where you really have to work for something, but it's never stretched too far to a point that you cannot reach. So that's where learning takes place. You really have to work for something, but still exciting, and you're on the verge of I can do this. And that's what technology, what apps can do, what a lot of programs can do very well. And you can't achieve that always in a classroom.
yeah, yeah, really good. So, what are you looking most forward to? I know we need to wrap this up soon, but as you think about what's coming up next, or where you want to put your energy, your talent, your experience, what do you see coming up? Yeah.
Uh, I keep on doing what I'm doing and create even more awesome games and escape rooms. I'd like to make a large impact, as large as possible, reach a lot of people. And if we look at stuff that is relevant to us all, then of course it should be AI and robotics that are taking will have a big impact, are already having a big impact in learning, in creating content. It's I'm amazed almost every day by new developments,
Hmm.
and what they could mean for the way we learn and get in information and enable us to create new stuff. I'm still blown away by it.
I know. And that, I think that's one of the beautiful is that things can happen more quickly. Because because I consider myself a zero talent as far as design capabilities. I do design, but now I can take a concept that's in my brain and I can get it out there where I can communicate it more effectively to the team members who actually have the talent, because I can create images and I can create a quick journey map that says this is what we want to do, this is where we want to go. Whereas before I would have been drawing that out literally with on paper and in my stick figures, trying to
Yeah,
get you, the designer, trying to understand what me, the strategist, is trying to create. So I find that to be a huge leap forward, and it's exciting to have it there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for rapid prototyping and creation, especially if you work in a team, to get on a line on what you are talking about, whether it's is a fuzzy concept or something specific or innovation. As soon as you draw it, make something, you can of course use pen and paper, but you can also use Lego. But nowadays you can also use an AI prompt and have something created, and then you have something to relate to and talk about, and you can do that in an instant.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, and we don't even know, what's going to be different tomorrow than it is today, and how we might be able to use that. But it also, I think, also ties back into, because we are doing this 48-hour event, that I'm surprised how many people I encounter who still have the mindset that they are using gamification. And then when we start to unpack that and say, well, what does that look like? We find that they're really still using just like this much of what could happen. And I guess it's the equivalent. The analogy I make is like Excel, right? Like I use this much of what Excel can actually do because
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
what I need to know for what I do. But if I really knew yeah, again, my mind would be blown again. But I feel like that's kind of how where gamification still is. People are really only using that much of it rather than going deeper into the intricacies of how it with and I know a lot of people are thinking, well, we don't have the time or the dollars for that. But again, it
Well,
really, yeah,
we need more skilled practitioners.
yeah,
It's same as having PaintShop Pro and the fact that you have an awesome paint program, but still, if you only can do is draw two lines, then what's up? So we need
yes,
to we need to have more people that are, and they are coming because people are leaving school right now, coming to the workspace. They have a lifetime of gaming behind them,
yes,
and they are the first to adopt the knowledge and the science and the practical science side of what gaming can bring you. So we should specifically educate them, yeah, in schools and universities, within trainings like yours with Sententia, that they get practitioners and experts in the field.
yeah. I think, and that's because I know there's always been maybe kind of this pushback on both like the game side of it, but to me, that's the beauty of it is that knowledge of games and a variety of games and how they work, so that we can take that experience and knowledge and move it over here and still use it beautifully, right? And create great outcomes for organizations for what they're wanting to achieve, which a lot of times they don't know what that is even. So, it's this big cycle that we keep going through. Mikkel, I am looking so forward to when we can work together. And of course, I want to do it live and in person because then it's really fun. And it's not just about the single event that's fun. The whole experience then is always delightful. So thank you for spending time with me today to talk about where you started, where you're going. If there was one thing that somebody who really they're just walking into this now and they may not even know why they're here, like their boss said, "What is this gamification thing you speak of? How can we learn more about it?" What would be one thing you would tell them? What would you want them to
Yeah,
learn?
I'll tell them, just start. There's no way to do this in a wrong way. There's no proper education for it. Just do it. Whatever you're doing is good because you are trying, and all the effort is good effort. So um, this is something that I learned from Jesse Shell, a great game designer who wrote a book about the book of lenses, the art of game design.
Yes, yes,
And within the book, he writes, you are a game designer from the moment you say, I am a game designer. It's the same with gamification. If you have this notion of, could this be something? Let me look into this gamification thing. Yes, look around, be surprised, but start slow, don't make it big,
right.
and you're on the right track. Just do
Yeah.
it.
Just do it. That's the only way to learn it is to do it and to learn that and expect that some things are not going to go the way you wanted them to. And you're going to say, okay, and learn from that. Yeah. Yeah. Jesse Shell's Book of Lenses and the cards, we've used those in just some, design intensives just to get our brain outside of this little box where we want to stay. And it's an excellent resource for thinking, well, what if you put this on there? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a really
Yay,
good
yay.
recommendation. Yeah. I got to
Yeah,
see
there are
Jesse
like a
speak
hundred different ways to look at your game and game design and trigger you and inspire you to look at another way to your design.
without so we don't just have the same old, same old, same old. Yeah, that's very good. I love it. Thank you so much, Mikkel. I wish you all the best. I hope to see you again live soon. We need to make that happen now that the world is kind of reopened. We're still stutter stepping, but it's all good, all good.
Yeah, I wish everybody at GamiCon this year an awesome sessions and awesome
Oh,
48
thank
hours.
you. Yeah.
And yes, let's get back in real life this later this year.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll see you again soon.